Do-hyun Lee sat in his office on the 42nd floor of the Seoul Security Tower, staring at the strange message on his computer screen. The payment offer was huge. 5 million credits for 1 week of work. But something about this job felt different from his usual security contracts. His office was simple, just a desk, 3 chairs, and a wall of screens showing various security feeds from around the city. The morning sun made the whole room glow orange. Do-hyun took a sip of his coffee and read the message again. "Mr. Lee, we need your expertise in protecting a very special guest," the message said. "She is the last of her kind, and her buyer will arrive in 7 days." Do-hyun was about to delete the message. It sounded too much like a scam when his security door buzzed. The screen showed a tall woman in a black suit, holding what looked like official government papers. "Come in," he said, pressing the entry button. The woman walked in with perfect posture. Her badge showed she was from the Galactic Embassy, the organization that handled all official alien business on Earth. "Mr. Lee," she said, bowing slightly, "I am Agent Moon. I believe you received our message about the protection contract." Do-hyun nodded. "I did, but 5 million credits for 1 week seems too good to be true." Agent Moon placed a folder on his desk. When she opened it, a hologram appeared showing a creature that took Do-hyun's breath away. She looked almost human, except her skin seemed to glow with soft blue light. Her eyes were large and completely silver, with no pupils. Her movements were graceful, like she was dancing even when just standing still. "This is Era," Agent Moon explained. "She is the last surviving member of the luminary species. Her kind were known throughout the galaxy as peacekeepers and diplomats. Some humans call them alien Geishas because of their grace and diplomatic skills." Do-hyun watched the hologram. What happened to her people? Environmental disaster. Their sun became unstable, and despite all our advanced technology, we couldn't save their planet in time. Agent Moon's voice became softer. Era was off-world during the disaster, serving as a diplomatic advisor. She is now the last of her kind. And someone wants to buy her. Do-hyun frowned. "Is that legal?" "The buyer is a wealthy collector who has promised to protect her and allow her to continue her diplomatic work. The sale has been approved by the Galactic Embassy." Agent Moon paused. "However, there are others who would pay much more for her on the black market. The luminary's natural bioluminescence is very valuable. Some say it can be used to make powerful medicines." Do-hyun understood now why the pay was so high. This wasn't just a normal protection job. He would be guarding the last survivor of an ancient species. "Where is she now?" he asked. "In a secure location in Seoul. If you accept the contract, I'll take you to her immediately." Agent Moon stood up. "But Mr. Lee, you should know. This job is more dangerous than anything you've done before. There are people who would kill to get their hands on a luminary." Do-hyun looked at the hologram again. Era's silver eyes seemed to be looking right at him, as if asking for help. He had protected many important people before. Politicians, celebrities, business leaders. But never someone who was the last of their entire species. He stood up and grabbed his security jacket. "Let's go meet her." Agent Moon smiled slightly. "I had a feeling you would accept. The car is waiting downstairs." As they rode the elevator down, Do-hyun couldn't shake the feeling that this job would change his life forever. He didn't know yet how right he was. The secure compound was hidden behind tall trees in the outskirts of Seoul. Do-hyun watched through the car window as large metal gates opened slowly. 3 security checkpoints later, they finally reached a modern building that looked like a small mansion. As Do-hyun stepped out of the car, he heard a familiar voice. "You're late." Jae-yun Park stood at the entrance, wearing her usual black tactical gear. Her hair was tied back tightly, and she carried a high-tech tablet. Do-hyun hadn't seen his old friend since their military days 5 years ago. "Jae-yun, you're involved in this?" Do-hyun asked, surprised. She nodded. "Someone needs to handle the technical security. Your job is personal protection. Mine is making sure no one hacks our systems. Agent Moon led them inside. The building was surprisingly warm and comfortable, not cold like most secure facilities. The walls were painted in soft colors, and there were plants everywhere. Era requested a peaceful environment. Jai-yun explained. She says stress makes her bioluminescence dim. They walked into a large room with ceiling-high windows. Do-hyun stopped in his tracks. The hologram hadn't done justice to the real thing. Era stood by the window, looking out at the garden. Her skin glowed with a gentle blue light that seemed to pulse softly, like waves on a calm ocean. When she turned to face them, her silver eyes reflected the sunlight like mirrors. She wore simple white clothes that seemed to flow around her like water. "Welcome, Do-hyun-lee," Era said. Her voice was musical, with a slight echo that made it sound like two people speaking in perfect harmony. "I hope you will forgive all the secrecy." Do-hyun bowed respectfully. "It's an honor to meet you." Era walked closer, and Do-hyun noticed that her feet didn't seem to touch the ground. She floated a few centimeters above the floor, moving as smoothly as a cloud. "Your species has many stories about my kind," she said. "They call us alien Geishas, but that is not quite correct. We are mediators, peacekeepers. Our ability to glow is not just for beauty. It helps us sense and share emotions." "Share emotions?" Do-hyun asked. Era's glow changed to a soft green. Suddenly, Do-hyun felt completely calm and peaceful, like he was sitting by a quiet lake. Then the feeling faded as her light returned to blue. "That is a small example," she said. "We use this gift to help different species understand each other. When two sides in a conflict can truly feel what the other feels, peace becomes much easier to achieve." Jai-yun stepped forward. "Era has helped settle 3 major disputes between alien races in the past year alone. That's why keeping her safe is so important. And that's why someone wants to buy you." Do-hyun asked. "To use your abilities." Era's glow dimmed slightly. "The buyer is a collector of rare things. He has promised to let me continue my work, but—" She paused. "I sense he is not telling the whole truth. However, the contract is signed. I must honor it." Do-hyun noticed how Jai-yun and Agent Moon exchanged worried looks. There was clearly more to this situation than they were telling him. "The next 7 days are critical," Agent Moon said. "The buyer arrives next week. Until then, we must ensure Era's safety at all costs." Era floated closer to Do-hyun. Her silver eyes seemed to look straight into his soul. "Will you help protect not just me, but what I represent? The hope for peace between different worlds." Do-hyun straightened his back. "I promise to keep you safe, no matter what happens." As he said these words, he didn't know that his promise would soon be tested in ways he could never imagine. 3 days passed quietly at the secure compound. Do-hyun spent most of his time watching the security cameras and walking the perimeter. He noticed that Era's glow changed colors with her moods. Blue when she was calm, purple when she was thinking deeply, and gold when she was happy. On the evening of the 3rd day, Jai-yun was checking the security systems when all the screens suddenly went black. "We've lost power to the outer cameras," she said, her fingers moving quickly across her tablet. "This isn't a normal failure." Do-hyun reached for his weapon. "How many entrances are there?" 4. North, south, east, and west. Jai-yun pressed her emergency beacon. Backup power should come on in 30 seconds. In Era's room, the alien's glow had turned a deep red. "They're here," she said softly. "I can feel their intentions. They mean harm." The backup lights came on just as the first explosion shook the building. Through the security cameras that were still working, Do-hyun saw 5 figures climbing over the west wall. They wore black armor that seemed to shift and move like liquid metal. "Cybernetically enhanced mercenaries," Jai-yun said, loading her weapon. "Very expensive. Someone really wants to get in here." Do-hyun turned to Era. "Stay in this room. The walls are reinforced with special metal. Nothing can get through." Another explosion rocked the building. The mercenaries were using plasma cutters to burn through the outer doors. "They're moving too fast," Jai-yun said. "They know our security layout. Someone must have given them information." Do-hyun positioned himself by the door while Jai-yun worked at her computer. "Can you activate the defense systems?" "Working on it, but they've hacked into our network. Someone gave them our access codes." Her face turned serious. "Do-hyun, this is an inside job." The sound of gunfire echoed through the hallways. The compound's security guards were engaging the mercenaries, but the intruders' enhanced strength and speed gave them an advantage. Era's red glow grew brighter. "They're getting closer. I can sense their minds. They've been ordered to take me alive." "Not going to happen," Do-hyun said firmly. The door to their section burst open. 2 mercenaries charged in, their cyber-enhanced eyes glowing green in the dim light. Do-hyun fired his weapon, but the bullets bounced off their liquid metal armor. Jai-yun threw a small device that released an electromagnetic pulse. The mercenaries' armor froze for a moment, just long enough for Do-hyun to target the weak spots in their neck joints. Both intruders fell. "The others are retreating," Jai-yun reported, watching the remaining cameras. "They didn't expect us to have EMP weapons." When the fight was over, they found pieces of the mercenaries' equipment. Jai-yun examined a broken communicator. "This has a galactic embassy signature," she said. "These mercenaries were using official equipment. The leak came from inside the embassy." Do-hyun remembered Agent Moon's words about the sale being officially approved. "We need to find out who in the embassy wants Era badly enough to send mercenaries." Later that night, as repair crews fixed the damage, Jai-yun discovered something on the embassy's secure network. "Look at this," she said, showing Do-hyun her tablet. All the attack's network access came through one person's security codes. Ha-jun Kim, senior diplomatic officer. Era's glow had returned to its normal blue, but her silver eyes were troubled. "I know him. He was one of the officials who approved my sale to the buyer." Do-hyun and Jai-yun looked at each other. The pieces were starting to come together, and they didn't like the picture that was forming. After the attack, Do-hyun knew the compound wasn't safe anymore. He made a call to the one person he trusted most with secret locations, his sister Yeon-woo. Early the next morning, a plain white delivery truck arrived at the compound. Yeon-woo stepped out, wearing work clothes and carrying a toolbox. Her short black hair was messy, and she had oil stains on her hands from working on her machines. "I've prepared the mountain bunker," she said, hugging her brother. When she saw Era, her eyes went wide. "The pictures don't do you justice." Era's skin glowed pink for a moment, showing she was pleased by the compliment. "Thank you for helping us, Yeon-woo." They loaded into the truck carefully. Jai-yun sat in front with Yeon-woo, while Do-hyun stayed in the back with Era. The inside of the truck looked normal, but it had special shields to block any scanning devices. The bunker was built 5 years ago, Yeon-woo explained as she drove. It was supposed to be a safe place for government officials during emergencies, but they built a newer one and forgot about this one. Only 3 people know it exists. The drive took 4 hours. They went up winding mountain roads until they reached what looked like an old hiking shelter. Yeon-woo pressed her hand against a tree, and a hidden door opened in the ground. "Welcome to my secret project," she said proudly. The bunker was surprisingly comfortable. It had 4 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a main room filled with Yeon-woo's computers and machines. The walls were painted with bright colors, and there were even some plants growing under special lights. "I've been living here part-time, working on my inventions," Yeon-woo said. "No one can scan this place. The walls block all signals. We're invisible here." That evening, as they ate dinner together, Era's glow turned purple, her thinking color. She looked at the humans around her and began to speak. "I should tell you more about my people," she said, "about why we disappeared." Everyone stopped eating to listen. Era's glow created beautiful patterns on the walls as she spoke. "Our planet was beautiful once. We lived in cities of crystal that caught the light, and made it dance. We spent thousands of years learning how to use our abilities to help other species understand each other. Her glow dimmed slightly. Then our sun began to change. The scientists said we had 50 years before it would destroy our world. We thought it was enough time to save everyone. Do-hyun noticed tears that looked like liquid silver running down Era's cheeks. What happened? The sun changed faster than anyone predicted. In just 5 years, it became too hot. Our cities melted. Most of our people died trying to save our historical records and peace treaties. She touched her glowing skin gently. I was away, helping solve a conflict between two species. When I heard the news, it was too late. Our entire civilization, gone in days. Jae-yun reached out and took Era's hand. Is that why you agreed to be sold? To preserve what's left of your people's work? Era nodded. The buyer promised to build a museum. To help me continue our mission of peace. She paused. But lately, I feel something is wrong. The buyer's promises feel empty. Yeonwoo was typing quickly on her computer. I've been doing research since Do-hyun called me. The buyer's story doesn't add up. Give me a few more days, and I'll find out what's really going on. As night fell over the mountain, Do-hyun watched Era staring out a small window at the stars. He wondered if she was looking toward where her home planet used to be, and he promised himself again that he would protect her, no matter what the cost. Yeonwoo hadn't slept for 2 days. Empty coffee cups surrounded her computer station as she dug deeper into the buyer's background. Do-hyun watched his sister's tired face in the blue light of the screens, worried about how hard she was pushing herself. I found something, she said suddenly, her voice tense. The buyer isn't a collector. His name is Dr. Maxwell, and he's a xenobiologist, someone who studies alien biology. Jae-yun looked over Yeonwoo's shoulder at the screen. Why would a scientist pretend to be a collector? Yeonwoo opened more files on her screen, because his real work is illegal. Look at this. He's been studying how to extract and copy special abilities from different alien species. Most of his test subjects didn't survive. The room went quiet. Era's glow turned a dark blue, almost black, showing her fear. He doesn't want to protect my heritage. He wants to study how my bioluminescence works. It gets worse, Yeonwoo said. I found messages between Dr. Maxwell and Hejun Kim going back 6 months. They planned this whole thing together. Do-hyun read the messages on the screen. Hejun had helped Dr. Maxwell create a fake identity as a wealthy collector. They had worked together to make sure the Galactic Embassy would approve the sale. The attack on the compound was a test, Jae-yun realized. They wanted to see how we would protect Ara, so they could plan a better attack later. Era floated to the window, her glow pulsing with worry. In 2 days, I am supposed to meet the buyer, Dr. Maxwell. The contract says I must go with him. That's not going to happen, Do-hyun said firmly. The contract was based on lies. It's not valid. Yeonwoo shook her head. It's not that simple. Hejun made sure the contract was perfectly legal. If Ara doesn't go through with the sale, it could cause problems between Earth and other alien species. They might think humans can't be trusted to keep their agreements. So we either let Ara go to her death, or we risk Earth's relationships with alien species. Jae-yun asked, frustrated. Era turned to face them, her silver eyes shining with determination. There might be another way. My people were diplomats for a reason. We believed that truth was the strongest weapon against evil. What do you mean? Do-hyun asked. If we can prove that Dr. Maxwell and Hejun lied, show evidence of their real plan, then the contract would be broken. But we would need to find solid proof. Era's glow brightened slightly. And we would need to do it before the meeting in 2 days. Yeonwoo turned back to her computers. The proof is in these files, but they're heavily protected. I need more time to break through the security. Time is something we don't have, Jae-yun said. I'm getting reports that Dr. Maxwell landed in Seoul this morning. He's not waiting for the official meeting time. Do-hyun checked his weapons. Then we need to move fast. Yenwu, keep working on those files. Jia-yun, contact anyone you trust at the embassy. We need to know who else is working with Hejun. As the humans began their urgent work, Era's glow changed to a color they hadn't seen before, a bright, fierce white that filled the whole room. I will not let my people's legacy end in a laboratory, she said. We will find a way. But even as she said these brave words, they could hear vehicles approaching on the mountain road. The sound of vehicles grew louder. Through the bunker's security cameras, they could see 3 black vans moving up the mountain road. Do-hyun recognized the Galactic Embassy logo on their sides. They're not supposed to know about this place, Yeonwoo said, her fingers moving faster across her keyboard. I'm almost into Maxwell's secured files. Just need 10 more minutes. Jae-yun checked the cameras again. We don't have 10 minutes. Hejun is in the first van. They'll be here in 5. Do-hyun turned to Era, who was floating in the center of the room, her glow shifting between white and dark blue. We need to make a decision now. Once they get here, we'll have no choice. Era's silver eyes looked at each of them in turn. I cannot let your world suffer because of me. Perhaps I should go with them. Try to reason with Dr. Maxwell. No, Do-hyun said firmly. You saw the files. His other test subjects died. We're not letting that happen to you. Yeonwoo suddenly shouted in excitement. I'm in. Look at this. She turned her main screen so everyone could see. Maxwell's real plan. He wants to extract the chemical that makes Era glow. He thinks it could be used to make weapons that could control people's emotions. The files showed pictures of Maxwell's laboratory. The images were horrible. Other aliens strapped to tables, their special abilities being tested and extracted. None of them had survived the process. This is the proof we need, Jae-yun said. But how do we get it to the right people in time? Era floated to Yeonwoo's computer. Her glow turned purple as she thought deeply. Among my people, there was a way to share truth that no one could deny, but it requires great energy. I have never tried it alone before. What do you mean? Do-hyun asked. My species can project not just emotions, but memories and truth. Together, many of us could share visions with hundreds of people at once. Alone, I might reach a smaller group, but... She paused. It will take all my strength. The sound of vehicles stopping outside made them all tense. Heavy footsteps approached the hidden entrance. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it now, Jae-yun said, holding her weapon ready. Do-hyun made his decision. Yeonwoo, send those files to every news agency and embassy official you can reach. Jae-yun, get ready to record everything that happens. Era. He looked at the alien with determination. Do what you need to do. We'll protect you. Era's glow began to brighten until it was almost painful to look at her. Thank you, my friends. When they enter, let them come close. I will show them the truth they cannot deny. The hidden door began to open. Hejun's voice called out, This is the Galactic Embassy. We know you're in there. Bring out the luminary. Do-hyun stood beside Era, his weapon lowered but ready. Jae-yun positioned herself by the computers with Yeonwoo, who was still sending the files to every contact she had. Era's voice was strong and clear as she said, Let them come. It's time to show them what a luminary's power really means. Hejun entered first, wearing an expensive suit and carrying no visible weapons. Behind him came Dr. Maxwell, a tall man with cold eyes and white hair. Several armed guards followed them into the bunker. Era, Hejun said smoothly, it's time to complete our contract. Dr. Maxwell has come early to collect you. Do-hyun stayed close to Era, whose light now filled the whole room. The contract is invalid. We know the truth about Maxwell's experiments. Dr. Maxwell stepped forward, smiling slightly. The truth. The truth is that the luminary's abilities could help humanity. Think of it. We could control emotions, end conflicts, create perfect peace. By killing me and using my body to make weapons, Era said. Her voice echoed strangely in the bright light. That is not peace. That is control. Hajum pulled out a small device. Enough talk. You see this? It's connected to 3 orbital weapons platforms. If you don't come with us now, I will destroy this entire mountain. Yan Wu's fingers were still moving on her keyboard. The files are out, she whispered to Jai Yun. Every news agency and embassy official has them now. Hajum laughed. Files can be called fake. Who will believe you? They will believe this, Era said. Her glow suddenly exploded outward, filling every corner of the room with brilliant white light. Everyone froze as images began to appear in their minds. They saw Era's home world, beautiful crystal cities filled with glowing beings who worked to bring peace to the galaxy. They felt the joy of conflicts resolved, the happiness of different species learning to understand each other. Then the visions changed. They saw Maxwell's laboratory, felt the pain of his test subjects, understood the horrible truth of his plans. The images were so clear and real that no one could deny them. The armed guards lowered their weapons, shocked by what they were seeing. Dr. Maxwell fell to his knees, overwhelmed by experiencing the suffering he had caused. But Hojun fought against the visions. No, he screamed, raising the device. You can't do this. His finger moved toward the button. Jai Yun was faster. While everyone was caught in Era's visions, she had been working with Yanwu. Together, they had hacked into Hojun's device. When he pressed the button, nothing happened. The orbital weapons aren't yours anymore, Jai Yun said, holding up her tablet to show the changed control codes. Era's light began to fade as her strength ran out. She sank slowly to the floor, her glow dimming to a soft blue. Du Hyun caught her before she could fall. You did it, he said softly. We all did it, Era replied weakly. Together. Outside, they could hear more vehicles arriving. Embassy security forces responding to the leaked files and Era's visions. Hajum and Maxwell were quickly arrested. As medical teams arrived to help Era recover her strength, Du Hyun looked at his friends, his sister Yanwu, his old colleague Jai Yun, and Era, who had risked everything to show the truth. They had faced impossible odds and won. But as he watched more embassy officials arriving, Du Hyun knew this wasn't over yet. They had stopped Maxwell and Hajun, but now they had to make sure nothing like this could ever happen again. The real work of protecting Era's legacy was just beginning. 1 month later, Du Hyun stood in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Embassy. The room was filled with representatives from different alien species, all gathered for a special ceremony. Beside him, Era floated gently, her glow a peaceful blue that made everyone feel calm. The investigation after Hojun and Maxwell's arrest had changed many things. The embassy had discovered other corrupt officials and removed them. Dr. Maxwell's secret laboratory was shut down, and all his research was destroyed. Are you ready? Du Hyun asked Ara. She nodded, her silver eyes bright with happiness. More ready than I have ever been. The embassy's new leader, a kind woman named Director Yang, stepped up to the podium. Today, we make history, she said. For the first time, Earth will have an alien diplomatic advisor who will work directly with our government. The crowd applauded as Era floated forward. Her glow brightened, filling the room with soft light. My people believe that understanding between species was the greatest goal we could achieve, Era said. Her musical voice carried to every corner of the hall. I thought I was the last of my kind, that our work would end with me. I was wrong. She gestured to the crowd, where representatives from 20 different alien species sat together peacefully. Look at us now, so many different beings, all working together. This is what my people dreamed of. Director Yang presented Ara with an official document. From this day forward, you will be Earth's chief advisor for interstellar peace. And she smiled. We have another announcement. Yanwu stood up from her seat, carrying a large data tablet. Over the past month, she had been working with alien scientists on a special project. Using the star maps Era provided, Yanmu explained. We found something amazing. 3 small colonies of luminary survived on distant worlds. They didn't know about each other or about Era, but now they can reconnect. Era's glow turned gold with joy. Happy tears like liquid silver ran down her cheeks. My people live, she whispered. We can rebuild. Do-hyun smiled as he watched her happiness. He thought about how much had changed since that first day in his office when he'd received the strange protection contract. There's one more thing, Director Yang said. We need someone to lead Era's permanent security team. Someone who has proven they can be trusted with the safety of Earth's most important diplomatic advisor. Do-hyun stepped forward. I would be honored to continue protecting Era. Later that evening, Do-hyun, Era, Jae-yun, and Yeonwoo sat together in a quiet garden. The stars shone brightly overhead. So what happens now? Jae-yun asked, still wearing her security uniform. She had been appointed as the head of the embassy's cybersecurity division. Era's glow created beautiful patterns in the night air. Now we do what my people always did best. We help others understand each other. But this time, we do it together. Together, Do-hyun agreed, looking at his friends, his sister the inventor, his colleague the security expert, and Era, the alien who had changed all their lives. As they sat in the peaceful garden, Do-hyun knew that their adventure wasn't really ending. It was just beginning in a new way. There would be more challenges ahead, but they would face them as a team, protecting not just Era, but the dream of peace between all species. Above them, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if agreeing with their hope for the future.